Last episode, I told you why you can't stop people pleasing at work. Today, I'm giving you what to actually say because knowing the pattern isn't enough. When your boss drops something on your desk at 4 p.m. Friday, or a colleague asks you to cover for them again, or you're sitting in a meeting watching a bad decision get made and nobody's pushing back, you need words. Ones that don't blow up the relationship, of course, ones that don't make you sound difficult, and don't send you home replaying the conversation for 3 hours. So that's what today is. 6 situations where people pleasing shows up most at work, in my experience, and the exact language to handle each one without losing yourself or burning a bridge. So stay tuned. Hey, here you are back at Workplace Therapy with me, Dr. Abby Medcalf. And people pleasing is such a huge issue that it's almost like I'm doing a 2-episode arc here. Obviously, they both stand alone, but if you haven't gone back yet, listen to the episode I just did. But anyway, so why do scripts actually help people pleasers? I want to say that first. It's really important. I always give my clients who are people pleasers scripts. We talk a lot about what exactly to say because I want to say this. So before we get into those exact situations, I really want to explain this, why having specific language matters so much for this particular pattern. I said it last week. I'll say it again. People pleasing is fast. The yes is out of your mouth before that prefrontal cortex, that thinking part of your brain, has had a chance to weigh in, right? So your nervous system makes the call and your mouth is like catching up, right? So scripts work because they give your brain a kind of preloaded alternative to that automatic yes. You're not trying to think creatively under pressure. You're retrieving something you've already prepared, and that's a completely different task. It's a completely different cognitive task, and one your nervous system can really manage in a threat state. So the scripts I'm giving you today have 3 characteristics. That's what I was going for and what I always do. They're honest, they're warm, and they don't over-explain. Over-explaining is one of the biggest tells of a people pleaser in action. That's what I find. When you give 5 reasons why you can't do something, what's happening is you're essentially inviting the other person to argue with each one. You're giving them more ammunition, more places to argue. A clear, brief response really closes the loop without opening a negotiation. And that's what we're trying to do. And I want to say one more thing before we start. None of these scripts are about being harsh or shutting people down. That's not what they're about. Being real. Your goal isn't to become someone who says no to everything. Of course, it's to become someone whose yes actually means something because you choose the yes. You're not just giving an automatic yes. So I'm going to do 6 situations. So situation number 1, and these are the ones I see most commonly that come up with my clients. That's why I chose these. Situation 1, you're being asked to take on more work, right? So yeah, this is the most common one I hear, I'd say. And the one where I think people pleasers most reliably abandon themselves. Someone asks you to take on a project, a task, a favor, and your immediate instinct is to say yes before you've even checked whether you have the capacity. You just do it. In each situation, I'm going to talk about the underlying fear, what I kind of reading your mind, so to speak. The underlying fear here is usually something like, if I say no, they'll think I'm not a team player, that I'm not committed, that I'm not capable of handling it, something like that. So you say yes, you're adding it to an already full plate, and I'll tell you what happens. You either deliver mediocre work across everything, or you work yourself into the ground to deliver it all, neither of which is a good option. And if you genuinely don't have capacity, right, then to me, it's a script like, I want to do this well. And right now I don't have the bandwidth, the time, the whatever to give it the attention it deserves. Can we talk about what I need to move off my plate to take this on? Or can we look at the timeline together? Right? That these are good. If you needed time to assess, if you're not sure, let me look at what I've got going and I'll get back to you by the end of the day. And then you have to make sure you do that. I want to make sure I can actually commit to this properly. These are fabulous things to say. And by the way, again, from the research, make you seem more competent, not less. And I really can't say this enough. And I talked about the research in the last episode, so I'm not going to get too into that here. But this is the scripts. I already proved to you last episode why you seem more competent, from the research that you are perceived in a better light when you have boundaries. So you got to have them. And again, neither of the responses I just gave you says no outright, right? They create a pause and reframe the conversation around quality and commitment. It doesn't reframe the conversation around refusal. It reframes it. It gives a new focus around quality and commitment. And that reframe shifts the dynamic from you being unhelpful to you being responsible. And that's what's so great. Okay, situation 2. And let me just say too, I have a free download today with all these scripts. So, if you're listening, you'll want to get the download later. I'll talk about it at the end. Situation number 2, someone keeps piling on after you've already said yes to enough. Because, once you start saying yes, everybody's like, oh, give it to Abby. She'll take anything kind of thing, right? So you've already taken on work and now more keeps getting added. Informally, casually, probably in ways that feel hard to push back on because nothing was ever officially agreed to. And your fear here is if I say something now, it's too late. I'll seem like I'm complaining or can't handle it. So you just keep absorbing it and the resentment builds and builds and builds and your burnout. So in these situations, I have people go back. You're always allowed to go back and say, hey, I want to flag something. And who are you saying this to? It's either your boss, a coworker, whoever, right? Whoever's involved in the piling on. Hey, I want to flag something. I'm currently carrying X, Y, and Z, and I want to make sure I'm prioritizing the right things. If this is coming in, what should I deprioritize to make room for it? That is my favorite. The last question is key to me. You're not refusing. You are forcing a real conversation about capacity and priority that your manager or whoever this other person is should be having with you anyway. Most people pleasers never ask this question because it feels like complaining, and it's not. I can't say this enough. It's good professional communication. And again, I am often working with your boss or your boss's boss. And these conversations, first of all, help your boss understand what's really required for the job, staffing. If you just keep taking people on and then complaining that they won't hire, well, of course they don't need to hire. You're doing it. Why would they? But when you, again, push back a little and say, just you're, and when I even say push back, that to me, it's not even pushing back. You are just raising what's obvious. Right? That's all you're doing is saying, well, there's this, and this. This is how many hours in the day. I can't bend the space-time continuum. Is there something I should take off my plate? Is there something I should deprioritize while I'm focusing on this? Okay. And then 99% of the time, the manager will tell you, oh, you know what? That's not really important. I'd rather you keep doing the other things. Never mind. I'll give this to Jennifer, and it gets passed off. I know this because I'm working with people and this is happening all the time. Okay, situation number 3, I see this one a lot too. You disagree in a meeting, but everyone else seems to agree, right? This kind of situation comes up a lot. So it's particularly hard, I think, for people pleasers because the social pressure is coming from multiple directions at once. Everyone else is nodding, right? The room has this like momentum and you have a genuine concern or a different perspective and you're sitting on it because raising it feels like you're stopping the train. And so your fear is something like, if I'm the only one who pushes back, I'll look difficult or I'll look negative or like I'm not a team player. And so in those situations, you want to try something like, hey, I want to make sure we've thought through this fully before we move forward. I'm wondering about blah, 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 and then name the concern. That's it. That's it. You're just dropping it. Or if you're not already, like, let's say you're not ready to articulate it fully in the moment, that happens too, right? You just know something's off, something's getting rushed, and you can't even think about what it is yet. Always say, hey, I'm really excited, supportive of this direction. And don't say but, say and. I can't even, again, there's research on this word. You've got to focus on the and it's so quick to say but, so you have to say and. So I'm really, hey, I'm supportive of this. I'm excited of this direction. And I want to sit with one aspect of this before we finalize. Can I come back to you tomorrow with my thinking, something like that, or later today, or, I need to, me, I need to sit with this, hey, I'll check back in with whoever later, something like that. Because both of these responses position you as thoughtful, not obstructive. You're not saying the plan is bad, right? You're saying you care enough about the outcome to make sure it's being considered fully. And that, again, framing changes everything about how this quote unquote pushback lands. All right. The fourth situation I see a lot is something like a colleague asks you to cover for them or do something that's their job. And this one I think is really insidious because it often gets dressed up as teamwork or, being a team player, helping out. And people pleasers are so particularly susceptible to the framing that saying no makes them a bad colleague. I know, I see you. So your fear here is, I'll seem selfish, I'll damage the relationship, they'll stop liking me, God forbid, right? So to me, these are really straightforward. I'd love to help, and not but, and I'd love to help. And I got a full plate right now. I can't take that on. And then go away, go walk away, go do something else. Don't stand there waiting for them to argue with you. So that's it. No elaborate explanation, no apology. Don't you dare say I'm sorry. No listing of everything you're currently doing to justify the no. And they might come back with that. Well, what do you mean? What do you got going on? I'm telling you right now, it's a full plate. That's it. You don't need to justify yourself to them. The warmth is in the I'd love to help. The boundary is in the brevity. And if they, again, keep coming at you, you can say, I know, I hear you. I'm sad. You could, I don't even know if you want to say I'm sad. I can't help. I don't know, but don't say I'm sorry. Don't say I'm sorry. But, and I really can't add to my plate right now. I hope I'm sure you'll find a different solution. I hope you find a solution, something like that. That's it. And if this is a pattern with a particular colleague, I will say the script alone isn't going to fix it. So, that's like a conversation. And episode 21 from season 2, how to handle draining coworkers without losing your mind. I'm going to have a link to that in this blog, or below the video if you're watching on YouTube. So that has more on navigating those dynamics. So you can go look at that. Situation 5 is I see this one so much. You need to give honest feedback, but you're tempted to soften it into really uselessness. That's what I find. People pleasers don't just struggle to say no. They also struggle to say things that are true, but uncomfortable. And feedback is one of the clearest examples. You soften it, you bury it in the positives, you hedge it so thoroughly that the other person walks away, not understanding what they actually need to change. It's such a problem. And the fear here that you have is if I'm direct, they'll feel bad. God forbid someone feels bad. God forbid, right? And it'll be my fault that they feel bad. No. And so the reframe that I think helps the most is that vague feedback isn't kind, it's withholding. The person can't improve on something they don't understand. And they often sense that something's being held back, and that's eroding the trust more than direct feedback would. I'm telling you. So a structure that works is something like, hey, I want to give you some feedback because I think it'll help. Is this a good time? Are you open to that now? Or are you open to that? That's it. If they're not open, don't give it. Like, do something else. Is this a good time? Now, asking permission causes someone to then think, because you're asking permission to give them feedback. You're asking permission to engage in a conversation. So what happens, this is a little psychological trick. What happens in the brain is that the brain has to stop, number one, come out of amygdala, go into prefrontal cortex. But number two, it gives them power. And you have to wait for an answer. Don't just barrel on. Make sure they've said, yeah, we can talk now. Or actually, it's not a good time. Can we talk at 5? Sure, I'll come back then, right? Then you want it. So is this a good time? Okay, yes. So then you're just going to give the specific observation. You're going to say what you saw. Hey, when you do this, in the meeting, or I saw you doing this in the meeting, whatever it was. And then what's great to put in here is the impact I've noticed is, and then give the specific impact. What I'd find helpful going forward is, and then you give your specific request. So an example could be something like, again, is this a good time to speak to you? They say yes. You say, I want to give you some feedback because I think it'll help. In the last 2 team meetings, you've interrupted people before they finish their point. The impact is that a few people have stopped contributing. What I'd find helpful going forward is letting people finish before jumping in, just, really being mindful in those meetings. There you go. Specific, direct, deliver with care, right? No apology for having the feedback. No 15 qualifiers before you get to the point. Say it, do it, get out. Okay. The last situation that I see is if your boss asks you if you're okay with something you're not okay with. This is the one I see a lot too. And I think this is the one that costs people pleasers the most over time. So your boss announces a change, let's say, asks for your input on a decision, or checks in on how something's going. And you say fine when it isn't because the alternative is feeling too risky to you. Your fear is something like, I'm not okay with this. I'll seem like a problem, or it'll damage my relationship with my boss, or nothing's going to change anyway. So what's the point? Something like that. So I want you to try this. Hey, I appreciate you asking. I of course want to be honest with you. I really have some concerns about the specific thing. Can I share them? Here you go. Don't start sharing. Don't start listing them. Can I share? Again, we're using that same little psychological quote. It's not a trick. It's just you might as well use the brain chemistry to your advantage. So, can I share this with you? Is this a good time to share it? Something like that is really effective. And again, it's so important to ask permission, because when you ask permission to share your concerns, it signals that you're not going in with a complaint. You're opening a conversation. So, and most managers are going to say yes. And even if they ultimately don't change anything, you've communicated honestly rather than silently absorbing something that's going to build resentment in you. And that's what's really important. This isn't about them. It's about you. If the concern is bigger and you're worried about how it'll land, you can say something like, hey, I want to support this. Remember, we always go there first. I really want to support this. And I also want to flag something I think is worth considering. My goal is to help, and I think this is worth a conversation. Always state your intention. And then say the thing. It really, I got to tell you, that's managing up, just for the record, and that's its own skill. I am inspired. I'm going to do an episode on managing up. Okay, never mind. So that's for me. So what's the bottom line on saying no at work? Okay, so the scripts aren't magic. They're not going to eliminate the discomfort of pushing back. And I'm going to tell you right now, the first few times you use them, you're going to still have anxiety. What's going to change is that you have something to say instead of the automatic yes. And that's something, it's honest, it's warm, and it's professional enough that the relationship is going to survive it. And this is a skill. And like any other skill, you will get better when you practice it. Every time you use one of these and the world doesn't end and the relationship doesn't collapse and you don't get fired, your nervous system updates its threat assessment just a little. And that's how the pattern actually changes. It's not through one dramatic confrontation. It's just not. It's through really like 100 of these small moments of choosing a different response. That's how it is. I say all the time, great relationships aren't built in a day. Great relationships are built daily. And this is a good example of that. And again, if you haven't listened to episode 26 yet, people pleasing at work, why you can't stop and what it's really costing you, go back and start there. Today's scripts land differently when you understand the nervous system pattern that they're interrupting. So I do want to say that. All right, so putting today's lesson into action, because you always want to do that. If this is an issue for you, you'll want to grab the free download for today, which I'm calling the No Without the Drama script card. It's like a one-page reference for all the 6 situations we covered today. And just keep it somewhere you can actually find it when you need it. And that is it. I hope today was helpful. Thank you for writing in and giving me so many good ideas for this season 3. I have a really exciting season coming, and I'll talk to you real soon.